Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
It's good news tonight for SDG&E customers. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. It's a story still drawing a lot of interest. In January, the natural gas portions of local SDG&E bills were much higher than expected, even for the middle of winter. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson tells us how those costs are coming back to earth.
The San Diego investor-owned utility says natural gas prices are down sharply from record highs in January. A typical customer who paid more than $225 for natural gas in January can expect to pay $110 in February. San Diego Gas and Electric's Anthony Wagner says the cost of natural gas fell significantly.
We saw an unprecedented historic spike in the gas commodity. Customers at San Diego Gas and Electric were paying $3.45 for the commodity. That has dropped in February to $1.11.
Many customers are just now opening their January bills, which are often more than double what they paid for similar usage a year ago. Wagner says SDG&E doesn't set the rates or mark them up. The utility charges customers what they pay. However, SDG&E did raise the cost of delivery in January. Three things continue to push prices so high this winter.
Storage being at a 5-year low. 2 would be an unprecedented cold throughout California in December and January. And 3, one of our major arteries where Southern California gets its gas has been down since 2021.
Wagner says the utility stands ready to help customers who may have trouble paying those high winter bills. They encourage people to reach out to the utility if there's a concern about payments. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Another unexpected cost for drivers are parking tickets and, if left ignored, getting your car back when it's towed. Now the city of San Diego wants to change the way it does things. City Council member Stephen Whitburn told KPBS Midday Edition is pushing to end towing for late registration fees. The same would go for drivers who have more than 5 unpaid parking tickets. And Whitburn says the fines are counterproductive and sink more people into more debt. And more needs to happen before changes to the city's towing policy take effect. You can hear more of that discussion on the KPBS Midday Edition podcast, and it's available on all major podcast platforms. A week after threatening a strike, janitors who clean the San Diego County Administration building are celebrating. Kitty Alvarado caught up with one of the workers who was being rehired after the county found they were victims of retaliation.
Sofia Martinez is all smiles. She says she feels vindicated now that county contractor Nova has been ordered to give her back her job with 2 weeks of back pay to cover the time she's been out of work.
No más. Ajá. Sí.
Qué buena noticia.
Sí, ya empecé a trabajar y el viernes me van a pagar todo mi sueldo.
The San Diego County Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement found Nova violated labor laws and retaliated against Martinez and several janitorial workers for trying to unionize. The county also ordered Nova to rehire the other workers. Martinez met us in front of the San Diego County building she cleaned for over 10 years, where last week the janitorial staff announced a strike and picketed in front of the building. She told us the backlash was swift and harsh for spearheading the effort for better pay and working conditions.
Me hicieron tirar 15 litros de químicos en el piso que apestaba horrible y quitarlo con navaja por 8 horas de rodillas.
She suffered bleeding to her hands, nose, and pain to her lungs, she says persists to this day.
Y seguimos en la lucha porque nosotros queremos un sindicato para que se nos trate mejor, nos paguen mejor y nos respeten.
We called Nova for comment. Eleanor England, the executive operations manager, told us they were very excited to have the workers back and will continue to support and hear their concerns. And while they have done work with the county for more than 15 years, they have only had this contract for less than 90 days and inherited the issues from a previous contractor. Martinez says some of the workers are still afraid of retaliation. They still have the same supervisors. But Martinez says her foster son inspired her to speak up for her rights. And he cheered when he heard that she's back to work.
Ya me enseñé a hablar. Sí, y por mí y por todas, para que no abusen de todas también.
Martinez says she learned from the experience, and from now on, she will never stay quiet when she or someone else is being abused at work. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
And there's more to come this week from the county's new Board of Supervisors chair. Nora Vargas is scheduled to deliver the State of the County address tomorrow night, and that starts at 6 o'clock. Vargas was chosen by her colleagues to lead the board earlier this month, succeeding District 4 Supervisor Nathan Fletcher. Community college students are back on campus this week. At San Diego City College, students return to news of the first ever 4-year bachelor's degree in the school's history. KPBS education reporter MG Perez tells us that's just part of the support for the new spring semester.
The streets of downtown San Diego are filled with students returning from winter break to the campus of City College. The new year brings a new opportunity.
What do we do if we're being attacked? How do we respond to it?
David Kennemer is an associate professor of computer information systems at City College.
Now we're going from lower division classes to upper division classes and making sure that the quality and, stays there.
Kennemer is taking these students through the first class they could use to create a career in cyber defense and analysis. This is Computing Fundamentals 100, the start of a 4-year bachelor's degree they can begin applying for this fall. Maximus Gastelum is a freshman.
I don't really have to, struggle of going to transferring to a 4-year now. I mean, I feel home here. I'm closer to home, so I don't really have to go. I'm also comfortable here at City College. So.
Melvin Emery transferred here from Bakersfield, and he's already making a new plan for graduation.
Being able to do everything that I want to do, potentially at a UC or a CSU, but at a cheaper cost, and also being able to do it alongside students that are thinking the same thing as me.
Saving money is an important benefit for students to continue here at City College. School administrators provided this cost comparison. At City College, a 4-year baccalaureate degree program, like the new cybersecurity degree, would cost about $10,000. At a CSU campus, it would cost close to $40,000. And at a UC, $64,000. San Diego City is not the only community college with plans for a 4-year degree. There are others looking for options to make education more affordable and accessible for its students. San Diego Mesa College already has a baccalaureate degree in health information management, and Miramar College has submitted a proposal to the State Board of Governors for a bachelor's degree program in public safety management.
You can have 3 of any of those snacks.
Back at City College, there is a new and expanded food pantry this semester, another cost savings for students who need it most, like cosmetology freshman Brisa Martinez.
I could take many things from here to make at home, and not only that, I could eat it here as well. It's helping me, a lot.
From cosmetology to computers, the future is bright for careers starting at City College.
The money obviously can be a plus, but at the end of the day, something that can enjoy and have fun is what I can consider success.
MG Perez, KPBS News.
Get your free COVID tests and vaccines while you still can. Changes are coming to some of the ways that we've been living with the virus. Gloria Pazmino tells us about the plan to end the emergency designation and what that means for most of us.
After more than 3 years, the COVID national and public health emergencies will officially expire in the U.S. on May 11th. Jen Cates, senior vice president with the Kaiser Family Foundation, says that even though some of the health and social benefits put in place at the start of the pandemic will end when these 2 emergency orders expire, they don't represent all of the measures put in place. There is one big change. access to free COVID home tests.
Whether you are a Medicare beneficiary or Medicaid or private, that's going away with the end of the PHE. And so getting tests when you need them might be more challenging, and you probably have to pay out of pocket in full for a home test, or you might start facing cost sharing.
Kate says to expect more cost sharing around certain therapeutic treatments as well from your insurance. So who will be impacted the most once these emergencies end in May?
The uninsured and those with insufficient insurance will be the hardest hit, as has always been the case in our healthcare system. They stand to lose the most. They do not have a guaranteed access to these things.
But Kate says there is one thing to remember. Even with these declarations ending,
everyone with insurance, virtually everyone with insurance will get free vaccines, even after the federal supply is gone, even after all of the emergency declarations are over.
Gloria Pasmino, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, we speak with President Biden's top economic advisor about rising prices and the risk of recession. It's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection is showing us this video of what they're calling a soft-sided processing facility. It's in Otay Mesa. The agency says the space is needed to keep those who are detained by Border Patrol, and it can hold about 500 people. San Diego Police are the latest law enforcement agency to give its motorcycle cops a uniform upgrade. A few of those officers display the new look today. It's less about the style, though, than the fabric itself. Kevlar is stitched into the fabric of the jacket, the undershirt, and the pants. One of the officers who described the technology says it's already paying off for other local agencies like Chula Vista Police.
And I talked to him a couple months later, and he was wearing the same uniform he went down on. And I looked at it, and I couldn't even tell that he had been on the ground, yet he went sliding across the asphalt with these pants on, and the pants weren't torn, ripped, scratched. They looked like he hadn't even been on the ground. So that's what sold me.
San Diego police are among the last local agencies to make the switch. These uniforms replace an older style that offered minimal protection for injuries like road rash. The department says the cost is about $3,000 per officer. The nation's largest firefighters union is taking legal action to get so-called forever chemicals out of firefighting gear. They say those chemicals cause cancer, and they're found in the very equipment intended to keep firefighters safe. KPBS reporter Kitty Alvarado has the story.
The International Association of Firefighters says cancer is the #1 killer of firefighters, and they say the cancers are caused by toxic chemicals known as PFAS. The union says those chemicals are turning up in turnouts, the very gear that's supposed to protect firefighters.
Little did we know, little did the fire service know, that our personal protective equipment was saturated with PFAS. Now connect the dots. I got a 37-year-old kid that's dead. I got a 32-year-old kid that's dead.
The issue is the subject of a documentary titled Burned, which documents the work of Diane Cotter, the wife of a retired firefighter diagnosed with cancer. She suspected the connection between PFAS and cancer.
The doctor says, yep, it's cancer. I just got to find out why.
I put my kids in my coat. Took a picture. It's cute. Do you think I would have done that if I had an advisory? Do you think I would have done that if I would have known that people in lab, scientists who work with my equipment, do you think I would have done that if I had known that they won't even touch it? It horrifies me.
The union says it retained lawyers in an effort to change regulatory standards and demand PFAS-free gear. Deputy Chief James Gabry with San Diego Fire and Rescue says they buy the safest gear possible.
Where there is a slight trace amount, which has been deemed acceptable because it's in most places, is on the moisture barrier that is in between the outer shell and the inner shell that never touches our skin.
He says right now he doesn't know if there's gear that protects firefighters that's 100% PFAS-free.
The technology's not there, and the industry's working towards bettering that technology so they can still protect us, the end user, from coming in contact with all that stuff that we're running into. So it's kind of a double-edged sword right now.
But they've been setting standards of their own as they became aware of the dangers. They've been issuing 2 sets of turnouts for more than 15 years.
This has been a culture change for the fire industry. Dirty is not cool anymore.
He's been in the industry for over 3 decades and says while he can't do anything to change the past, he can continue to make sure he's doing everything he can to keep his firefighters safe.
My goal right now is not to be angry, but is to help try to find a solution.
Right now, about a dozen firefighters are part of the lawsuit. They expect more. According to the IAFF, over 60% of firefighter deaths are caused by career-related cancers. Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.
It's not the travel meltdown that we saw over the holidays, but there's still plenty of inconvenience at the airports. Arrivals from places like Dallas and Las Vegas saw more than a few delays and cancellations today and into the evening. We're in for drier weather locally. Here's Justin Povic with the forecast.
Well, now that the rain and the mountain snow is pressing its way out to the east, we'll talk about some quieter conditions. It will be cool into Wednesday, especially tonight, that we will be talking about some interior sunshine and perhaps even a little bit of warming as we head late week into the start of the weekend. Well, speaking of tonight, we're dropping down to 41. It will be under a clear sky, and indeed, as we look at some of the numbers here, down to the 30s. Again, some of those lower lying areas that have a tendency to be more sheltered, again, in terms of the wind throughout some of the interior valleys and even into the lower deserts. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some patchy frost. Mount Laguna drops to 27. Oceanside down to 33, so very close to that critical 32 number. Chula Vista down to 40 degrees. But here's Futurecast to get it's clear, and there goes the upper level low spinning about to the east, spreading wet weather throughout Arizona. High pressure building back into place over the course of the next couple of days. What does that mean? Well, there will be some gusty breezes out and about, again, over the far interior as we go throughout Wednesday, otherwise remaining on the chilly side, as those temperatures are going to be below normal. Again, looking at some of the numbers here around Mount Laguna, 41, 68 Borrego Springs, 65 in San Diego, 64 in Oceanside, looking at a mostly sunny sky. Let's talk about Thursday. We'll notice a bit, I'm saying a bit, of a warming trend. Not substantial. You'll see just a matter of a couple of degrees, but high pressure begins to pull away off to the east, and it will be continued dry. Let's talk about the coast here first. Very subtle, like I said, perhaps a degree or two from Wednesday and Thursday into Saturday. We are going to be experiencing quite a bit of sunshine throughout the next several days, but I mentioned again some patchy frost in some of those sheltered valley locations, a possibility for some as we go into tonight. There's your subtle warming trend over the interior valleys up into the 70s as we go into Saturday. Lots of sunshine across the board as we go into the mountainous terrain. A little breezy again as we work our way throughout your Wednesday. High temperatures climbing a bit as we go from Friday into Saturday and into the desert. Also looking at some sunshine the next several days. Mid-70s Saturday into Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Povic.
Tomorrow, you'll get your best look at a comet discovered by the Palomar Observatory last year as it passes near the Earth. KPBS SciTech reporter Thomas Fudge has the story of the green comet's discovery and where you can try to see it.
Comets are dirty balls of ice that orbit the solar system. As they approach the sun, they begin to melt and evaporate into a gas, and that gas makes them visible in the sky.
Because the comet itself, the icy part of the comet itself, is less than a mile in diameter. It's a really small little guy, but the cloud of this gas that surrounds it from the evaporated ices that are present in that little snowball ends up being like thousands of miles across. And then the tail that drags out behind it ends up being millions of miles in length.
Cameron Hummels is a research scientist at Caltech, which operates the Palomar Observatory in the mountains east of San Diego. He says the discovery of the green comet arriving tomorrow was done with a device called the Zwicky Transient Facility, or ZTF, that's mounted inside of a telescope. It scans the night sky and takes lots of pictures.
They take them a few every 30 seconds or so on the same position on the sky to see if there are any anything's moving. So you essentially compare an image with the one that's taken 30 seconds later with the image that's taken 30 seconds after that, just to see if there's any kind of changes. And occasionally you'll see something moving over the course of those 5 images or so. And in this case, that was the initial discovery of this comet.
Hummel says the comet appears green due to its molecular makeup and the way it's illuminated by the sun. The last time this comet came this close to Earth was 50,000 years ago when Neanderthals roamed the planet. And if you want to try to see it, Hummel says it's best to be in the desert, away from light pollution, with a telescope or binoculars.
Just after sunset and dusk, it'll be in the northern part of the sky near the North Star.
And what's the name of this newly discovered comet?
Its official name is Comet 2022 E3 ZTF.
Skies are supposed to be clear on Wednesday, so good luck seeing whatever they call that comet. Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Surfboards, model trains, aviation, and lots of fine art. Those are just some of the things to see and learn about during the month of February at a big discount. KPBS reporter John Carroll has more on Museum Month 2023.
Ask Museum Council Executive Director Bob Lehman about Museum Month, and he sums it up this way.
A lot of fun, that's what it's about.
Of course, it's also about learning, seeing, and experiencing new things, or old things in new ways. Museum Month started 39 years ago to make museums more accessible, more affordable for locals and visitors alike. All participating museums and cultural institutions across the county are offering half-off admission for the next 28 days.
Go to any library, pick up your museum pass. You can see a list of all the museums right there.
There are 15 new museums participating this year. That makes 60 in all. When it comes to the amount of museums in one place, Balboa Park is the place, with 17 in all, including some of the best known, like the San Diego Museum of Art. That leaves dozens of other museums that are not in the park, like this one, the Brain Observatory. It's new, and it is a museum like no other. Located on Broadway, right across the street from Santa Fe Depot, the observatory is the brainchild of Jacopo Anese. For most of his career, Anese was a professor in residence at UC San Diego and the president and CEO for the Institute for Brain and Society. He says the idea of this combination brain research lab and art gallery is to bring brain and society closer together.
I felt like I was in the university setting working behind closed doors, and I personally felt there was a lot of beauty and mystique in the work that we were doing because we work with real brains.
The observatory just opened, and Anese says it's still a work in progress, but several brains are already here, brains donated by people whose life stories are well known to Anese.
Donated by people who had maybe a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson. My specialty is brain imaging.
Anese says most imaging work is an attempt to understand the characteristics of disease, how it manifests, how it progresses. But that work is typically done by researchers who don't have any idea about the details of a brain donor's life. Anese says putting those images together with a person's life story can lead to a clearer picture of the disease, and perhaps, one day, to a cure. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, what exactly is the connection between brains and art?
There's two kinds of art when it comes to brain. There is neuroart, so-called neuroart, which is making art out of brain images, which we have on our north wall. And then there is the imagining. So going from imaging to imagining, that's what artists do, using introspection, using imagination. And I think that there is untapped potential in asking artists to team up with scientists to discover how their brain works. And it's very possible that if you don't make artists feel like intruders in your lab, they could actually contribute with insight.
In the near future, Anese says you'll be able to watch researchers doing work on brains while at the same time seeing art informed by their work. Back to Balboa Park, and Bob Lehman pointed out a new feature of this year's Museum Month. Beginning on February 6th, you can either go online and download your pass, good for up to 4 people, or you can scan this QR code on the paper passes, available at more than 80 libraries throughout the county. Then get ready for whatever museum experience you choose.
What I encourage people to do is make a day of it. So if you're going to go someplace, you're going to go up to Oceanside or go up to the San Diego Botanical Garden in Encinitas, well, plan to go to lunch while you're going to do it, or have a dinner. So just make a day of that adventure and just have fun.
From brains to boats, trains to planes, you can find it all in museums and cultural institutions across San Diego County, and all at a 50% discount during Museum Month 2023. John Carroll, KPBS News.
And another way to find all of our KPBS content is on the KPBS YouTube page, and that is where you can find stories from our newsroom and some of our locally produced shows. We also live stream KPBS Evening Edition weeknights at 5. And here is a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom, the end of an era for aviation. NPR's Morning Edition has a story on Boeing ending production on the 747 jumbo jet. And a shakeup in local gambling. KPBS Midday Edition talks with the UT about its story on a prominent local tribe opting out of a state oversight board. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.